Our team at Atlantic Construction Podcast is excited to announce our newest partner, Luminous Labs. Luminous Labs is the leading provider of architectural visualizations for developers, homeowners, architects, and more. Luminous Labs has a team of experienced designers and visualizers using cutting-edge technology to bring your 3D renderings to life. Using these architectural visualizations will give you a sense of scale, space, and design, allowing you to make informed decisions about your projects before construction even begins. These high-end architectural visualizations are a perfect tool for presentations, marketing materials, and design reviews, allowing you to communicate your vision to stakeholders, clients, and more. This episode is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Pizant Building Products. Pizant Building Products has been providing contractors and builders with the supplies necessary to complete their jobs since 1964. They have built a reputation of honest, helpful, and quality service, serving the HRM for the last 58 years, now with 7 locations in Nova Scotia and 1 in New Brunswick. Our team at Atlantic Construction Podcast is extremely excited to announce our new co-branded partner, Procore. Procore is the global leader in construction management software. We'll be conducting several podcast episodes with Procore users and construction companies across the country in 2023, among many other things. Stay tuned. We're excited. Okay, welcome back to the Atlantic Construction Podcast. Excited to have our guest today who traveled over from New Brunswick, from Moncton this morning, the CEO of 46North group of companies, Arides Cabreira. I tried to say that with as much of a Portuguese accent as I could. How did I do?
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
He was training me before we went on live here how to roll my R's a little better. So yeah, thanks for being with us today. We were just chatting about kind of a little bit about your journey and the challenges of immigration from Brazil. Both you and your wife are from Brazil. Maybe you could take us through a little of your journey before we start to find out about some of the exciting things that 46 North is up to.
Let's start from the beginning. So I can say my career in design and architecture has something to do with the phrase that you know when you have to be on the right place at the right time, and that happened with me when I was 12 years old. What happened to me before, it's even illegal today in Brazil or any country. You cannot hire at 12 years old. I always like to do design people, design a school, and I was the type of student that I was scared of because I was always little and compared to the other kids or tall. So I never sit anywhere from mid of the room towards the back. I always was either front chair or second chair, always near the teacher, because I knew that on that location I was never going to put myself in trouble. So when I was about 12 years old, I had my brother who passed away, unfortunately. He heard on the radio that a company in Brazil was hiring a designer. He didn't really understood the difference between a technical design and artistic design. That's what I was doing since I was like 6-7 years old. He came to me and said, I heard this on the radio that some company needs a designer. And I know you love design. What do you think? You want to go there with me? I can take you there. I say, of course, why not? 12 years old. I went there. I remember the name of the manager who hired me. His name is Jesus. And all the design, they had I think 5 or 6 designers on the team, and all 22, 27, 30 years old, all adults. Didn't have anyone less than 21 years old. And it was a metallurgic, so it was an industrial design. So he looked at me and said, well, you're too young to work over here. But if you really want, I can give you some points and then some classes that you can take. And once you're ready, you can come back and we can talk. And I told him, okay, not a problem. So tell me where I need to go. So there was a technical school at my city. He gave me the name. I went there and I spoke with the director, and the director said, okay, this class that he's recommending you to take is only at the evening, and you're not allowed to study at the evening because you're only 12 years old. You have to be at least 18.
Past your bedtime.
That time, exactly. Uh, in Brazil, the school structure is different than North America. In Brazil, we have a 3 schedule for classes. So we have one, I believe it starts at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning and go until 12. We have another one goes from 1 to 5 p.m. And then we have another one goes from 7 to 10:30. Or yeah, I think 7 to 10:30.
What part of Brazil are you from?
South Brazil, Curitiba.
Okay, so I have a friend from São Paulo, and I'm sure he's probably listening in. So I was just curious what part. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Curitiba is about, I would say, about 6 hours south from São Paulo driving.
Okay.
And 45 minutes flight. It's a pretty short travel. And so I went back there. Nothing, we couldn't do anything. 6 months later, I said, you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk to that manager because he told me to do what I could. And I believe I did what I could, but I cannot go forward because, and that time I was already 13. I turned off my birthday in March. And I came back to him. When I took, this time, my brother didn't came with me. I went by myself. I got off the bus, probably I was 2 blocks walking to this company. And my leg started shaking so much, I could not stand myself. I was so nervous to go talk to this person. And I thought at that time, say, well, the worst thing I can hear is no. I am already here. What's going to happen? He already know me. So let's see. So I went there, knocked on the door. Between this time, 6 months before that I came back, he spoke with the owners of this company. And the owner said, no, we cannot hire this person. He's 12 years old, 13 years old. He's too young. It's too dangerous. He's a metallurgic. He can cut his hand over here like on the first day. So he understood. He didn't ask anymore. But then he was walking to the production. And there was a 16 years old kid working on the presser. They say, how come a 16 years old can work on the presser and we cannot let a 12 or 13 years old work on design inside the office? It's like a safe environment. Mm-hmm. And they gave him the green light to hire. A week later, I show up on his door.
So a presser, were they manufacturing like millwork or something in the shop? Or?
Like a Costco, car parts warehouse.
Oh, okay.
They manufacture all those metal shelves.
Right.
For car parts, Costco, and supermarkets.
Right.
Everything is done to do with the metal.
Right.
It's very dangerous because the acid tanks, the presser, cutting, the steel when they come from the mill, it's like a big roller of steel.
Pretty extensive assembly line.
Yeah, exactly. It was about like 100 employees, I believe, at that time. And I knock on his door and say, well, do you really want to work? I say, of course I want to work. And did you went there? You took those classes? I say, well, I went, but I'm too young. I cannot go. I cannot do any class at night. That doesn't. They don't let me. Mm-hmm. I say, okay, bring your parent over here, and we're gonna hire you. So I came back with my father. And 13 years old. That was, I think, May 1986. I started doing design. A year later, they bought the first CAD system. So I started doing AutoCAD. So I worked for this company for 6 years. Until I quit there, and another company hired me, also on a metallurgic firm. This was one of the biggest construction company in the city, on the state actually. They had everything. So this company was a motor construction company. So they had the construction division, they had the architecture firm, they had the metallurgic division for the concrete. So they manufacture all the trucks to carry the concrete. They had the concrete mix, so they sell the concrete for their construction fields and also for other clients. They had the high-end furniture manufacturer and the real estate. They sell real estate.
What's the name of the company?
Motor Construction Company.
Motor Construction. Okay.
Very big company. So they invite me to work on the mechanical division to design all the trucks and water transport, all that stuff. I stayed on this division for about 8 months, and then they offered me to start architecture, and that's when everything starts. That was 6 years after. On this company, I'm so glad I work with the good people because I was able to learn so much. Mm-hmm. And Bruno DeFranco was the architect manager of the division that I was working for, and he also was a partner of the company. The he had a crazy ideas. Everybody called him. He say he didn't have his head over his shoulder. The things that he done in the city, but it was such amazing ideas. So one the project that I was able to work, and I'm proud to say that I work on this project, was what they call Vollard Residence. He named after Pablo Picasso. This was the first building rotational building in the world. Was took like 10 years to construct. So I left the company before they started construction, but they I know the history. They finished this building in 2004. Uh, Anything that you imagine that we use in technology today, he introduced in this building 15, 20 years ago. Uh, the building, your apartment can rotate 360 degree. Of course, they have the back part, the elevator, the stairs, and the kitchen and the bathroom is on the center of the core, doesn't rotate, but the living room, dining room, and the bedroom, just one bedroom, rotates everything. And because the facade is all glass and all balcony, the balcony rotates complete with the apartment itself.
The foundation rotates, and everything on top of that is
There has a central core for all the washroom, the plumbing, all the fixed stuff.
okay.
And then
And how's it routed up through the center of the
up
structure?
to the center of the structure. The building rotates around,
Yeah.
and just a 40 horsepower engine, and takes 1 hour to do a 360 rotation. So
Right.
it's slow.
What happens with the softscapes and the sidewalks that are leading into the front doors and whatnot? Does that?
Because that's just the core.
Uh-huh.
The first apartment actually is not at the ground level.
Right. So the envelope of the building is not moving.
No,
It's the floors that are moving.
it's just the first.
Right.
Yeah,
And what is the glass, the glazing?
the glass
Is it aluminum and it's not
aluminum
yeah.
double pane glass.
Yeah.
And he choose
Curtain wall
each
system.
floor curve walls, but each floor has a different color. So when you change, when the sun hits, it creates different shades any time of the day. It's not the same building, so kind of flotation. So we can get some image.
And the name of the building again is the Picasso.
Vollard,
Okay.
Suite Vollard.
Okay.
Yeah, it's after Pablo Picasso.
Okay.
He's
That's a wow.
it was amazing build. So today you have on the Middle East, it has another one. It's taller. The problem with this building, with all the technology that was introduced, with the price was over and nobody could afford. So from 2004, when it was released, nobody bought the building.
Right.
So the
it's
building
sat
was
vacant
empty,
for a
was
while.
vacant.
How many units were in it?
11.
One per floor. 11 floors then.
11 floors,
Okay, so 11 stories high.
one per floor. And the company went to bankruptcy and was sued. So they lost the building. The building went to
The owner of the
to
building.
auction.
Okay.
Yeah, went to the auction. It hasn't sold, and I think last year they went again to the auction.
That's a shame.
It's a shame. It's only 120 square meters, so it's not too big. Probably like 1,300 square feet.
So it just wasn't a market for buyers. It was too
No.
eccentric, or
Yeah,
what-
it's just centric. You can.
couldn't they just turn into some kind of a public, public tourist attraction or something? I don't know.
Could be.
Yeah.
It was a shame to have and then the vandalism starts because the building was empty.
Okay. Yeah.
It was paint outside. It's pretty bad. It was like could be like an icon at the city and becomes center
Yeah.
of vandalism
Right.
because wasn't done proper for the time. I think the technology they introduced to the building was too soon for the time. And for example, to rotate your unit, if it's not a remote control, you can just talk to the building and the building rotates
Right.
either left or right.
Yeah.
All the lighting was computer controller. The heating system wasn't like if we talk about even here, if you talk about construction about 20 25 years ago, it's not the same thing what we have available today on the market.
Right.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Like today, for example, most of the houses now, they're using these LED lights. Each light has a transformer, and we work with a project that for entire village development for 135 houses. The
In
owner
Brazil?
now here,
Oh, here.
in US.
Yeah.
And
US.
the owner doesn't want, they contact the manufacturer firm from these lights, and they want to buy just the light, not the transformer. So that's why he thinks out of the box. So he instead using like 30 or 40 LED lights throughout the house, he can put one electrical panel for low voltage next to the regular house panel, and he's gonna run all low voltage wire to this panel. Instead, run a 12 AW wire to each light, which one costs less money.
Right.
And why do you need 30 transformers so you can have one large transformer and can control all the lights?
So this is one of the projects you've worked on recently or
Yes.
currently.
Yeah,
This is
currently.
125 home development, a subdivision.
135, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a similar design, all these homes, or
The layout is the same. The outside is all different. We
Okay.
have probably like 10 different houses.
okay.
And they flip left and right and change colors, change the roof lines.
Wow. Okay, so and you were a student at Vancouver Community College at one point, were you not?
Yes, I was for a project management. I always
Okay, right.
enjoy.
So you wanted to explore that side. after.
I always like the opportunity to be at the doing design, and
But then
also
carry it through.
carry through construction. So
Design build.
I did a project management. After there, I worked for a restoration company as a project manager there in BC. I can tell the only thing I learned was one of the things that I learned is to respect all the project management, to all the people who work with the restoration. I didn't find too much pleasure to do that work. It's all the jobs that I did so far. Like, for example, if I go to someone's house to renovate their kitchen, they're gonna open up the door with a smile on their face because I came there to bring new ideas or to realize or to explore their dream for a new kitchen, for a new house, anything that they have in mind. They want to sit down on paper and make sure that that dream come true. When you work with a restoration company, it's not the same feeling because those people lost sometimes everything. Oh,
Right.
the
The
house
morale is different from the
Is-
onset.
is
Yeah.
different. So it's not. I didn't thought it was a too fun
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
So I stayed just 1 year doing project management for restoration.
restoration company,
Yeah,
okay.
the stress
And was that in BC or
That was in
Boston?
BC.
Yeah, because you spent some time in Boston as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Boston I was more like a student. I did a couple jobs there, but it wasn't too many.
Right.
After I moved to
When did you decide to leave Brazil and come to Canada?
with the city that I work for, the city that I was living in Brazil was amazing. Like Curitiba, it's considered the greenest city in the world.
Wow.
The mayor of the city, he started this project, this idea to develop the entire city, the transportation system, and he was amazing. Jaime Lerner.
Is there a carbon tax? Is there anything in the political front that makes that possible? That be the most?
The layout that he did, the green space that he maintained, the transport. They don't have a train or metro transportation in the city, but he came up with this idea to design a two articulation bus. It's enormous. It's very big, and this because the size of these buses, it cannot drive with the cars, shared roads with another cars. They have their own line, and so when he came up with this project, other cities may open up the interest in buy. So Vancouver bought the project from them, but again, Vancouver, they don't have the space to introduce the same transportation system they have in Curitiba, because the city is already built. You cannot start moving buildings because it's unfeasible. So they bought the small version, which one is only one articulation. So the bus is still like a longer bus, but with the one articulation, they can still drive through the city and share the roads with the other cars. New York City, same thing. They bought this project for him. So and in all the projects that I never did a single family house in Brazil. Never. I never had the
Right.
opportunity. It was
So
all
you weren't designing homes or construction
no.
buildings per se. It was
Was
all different.
all high rises.
Yeah.
Like a 20, 30 floors, all high rises.
Okay.
And it was was a fun project, but I still missing that feeling that design something for the end user. And I never had the opportunity in Brazil. In Brazil, we designed something that we thought we're going to be good for the market and they're going to be sellable. That's the idea when you design a apartment building. When I came to Boston, I had a little bit of deception at the first look. Some of the towns there, just the way the buildings are, and I came from a place. The architecture was amazing. It was
Yeah, it's very
one
eccentric architecture.
one building better than the other one.
But that's probably a distinguish you could make between a lot of countries, especially European or South American compared to North American. I mean, not to say that, we don't have some amazing architecture, here, but it's on a different level,
No, it's a different level.
Yeah.
It's just that you have to understand the culture. The culture change. So that's what, like when you stay on your safe zone and you don't see all the what other people have to offer, you don't understand the perspective. So when I first came to North America, I had the feeling that most buildings was like only 2 stories, 3 stories, and 150 years old, and then I was trying to understand more about the history, of New England history. In Boston, it's the history in Boston is rich. It's so nice. But when I came with the different eyes. So I didn't. It took me a little while to see that in front of me and start to enjoy. Forget about that. Forget about my past and try to live the present. So what I have there was so much to learn. That's what I understood. In Boston, that's when I met my wife, and we had our baby there. And Canada came up to place, and I put a resume online one time, and I got 2 job offers in Canada before 2008. That's when the market over here was booming. The company is so, like I say, I had a 1 job offer in Halifax. They had the same problem as we have today, like a labor shortage for everything. In BC, the phone, he told me the phone was ringing every 10 minutes for a new client, and he could not handle the depression and the number of work that he had. So he hired me without even doing an interview. Our interview was over the phone. Back then, didn't have the video call or anything. It was just over the phone. So took me like about 6 months, 9 months to get my paperwork, my visa, everything done. When I moved was when the market crashed in 2008.
Okay.
And then he said Canada wasn't too bad as U.S. was. I think was pretty bad. Was worse than U.S. On this time.
So how long did it take you from '08 or prior to coming to Canada from the U.S. with PR and with your residency, work visa? Like, what was that? That process can be pretty drawn out, huh?
That was, I believe that was like about 6 to 9 months. My wife did most of the paperwork on that time. We found a good lawyer in Toronto, and also they had another office in Brazil, in São Paulo, that helped us with the paperwork. But it was a long process. I can tell you, it's not easy. But
No, it's a level. Nova Scotia is, very diverse now, and I have many friends that have been through that process. Are still in the process. Whether some of them have to hire a lawyer to help out and pay them
Yeah.
10,000 or more to try and get to the next step, and depending on what kind of job and how it's tiered,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's
The,
difficult.
the culture shock is that's the next thing that comes up to. Like I came from a 1.7 million people city. My wife came. We never met in Brazil. We met in Boston, but she came from São Paulo. São Paulo is about, I think it's 27 million people on the city. The state of São Paulo, I believe, is 32 million people. It has more people than Canada almost.
Right.
It's a pretty dense city. We
Yes. What's Canada? 30, 33? maybe?
33, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boston was big, so we kind of downsized our expectation when they moved to Boston because it was small. It wasn't too busy like it was in Brazil in both cities, either Curitiba or São Paulo. And then when I got this work visa, we went to Kamloops with 80,000 people town. So we
Kamloops,
Kamloops,
BC.
BC. In for the paperwork, my first day in Canada, I came with a work visa, so I can only work for one company.
And is that good for just 1 year? Allows you a grace period
I
to
believe
work on.
I believe it was 1 year, because we started the process at the same time.
Right. And this was
for
in
the- for the
08 or
residents.
2010.
We
something like that.
started in 2007. No, 2000. Yeah, I think we started in the beginning of 2007.
Yeah.
We got the visa at the end of the year, and then we moved. We went back to Brazil once we got approved. We stayed there for a month, and then we came back. We stayed there Christmas. Right after Christmas, we flew to Canada.
And started your position.
Yeah, it was the worst winter that came for the last 10 years.
Oh, really?
So we came there, it was bad.
Oh,
so
that
we,
hit your
we-
heart 'cause you don't get that. You don't get that in São Paulo. You don't get that in
no,
Brazil.
no, we landed in Vancouver. The time change was bad. It was like a 5 hours difference.
Right, because the West Coast. Because here, I think it's the same time.
It's the
right?
same time.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes 1 hour difference. Sometimes
Yeah.
right now it's the same. And we came. My daughter was 2 years old, and we had a dog, a basset hound too. So we were sleeping at the day, and we wide awake at night because we just couldn't. We took like 1 week to adjust the time zone. So we stayed a few days there in Vancouver. Then we rent a minivan, put all the bags, and drove to Kamloops to the Coquihalla there. I never seen a road like that on my life. Few years that I stayed in Boston, we went through the winter, but I don't remember ever had to buy a winter tire in Massachusetts.
Right.
Never.
But not so in the West Coast of Canada.
No. Years later, then I started watching that TV show for Drive Through Hell, and literally, yeah, it is Drive Through Hell. It's impressive, and if someone's listening and if you never drove through there, you have to do it.
Right.
It's a life experience.
What is that area? That's that show, Drive Through Hell. Where is
There's
that?
they call Coquihalla,
Okay.
and it goes from Kamloops to Vancouver.
Okay.
It's very impressive. Now in summer, it's breathtaking. It's like it's amazing views. In the winter, it's a lot of snow. Like you can see, and sometimes they close the roads. They have like 2 gates, one on the bottom of the hill, one on the top of the hill. They close those roads to control for avalanche. So once the last car pass, they control down the camera. When that car go past the other gate, they close the gate.
Okay.
And they use explosion to control the avalanche. So they cause the avalanche. They clean up the road. That can take about 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
And then they open up the road again.
Wow. So you got a real good taste of the Canadian winters.
That was pretty amazing. And like when they build the Coquihalla, they put some bays for cannons to shoot dynamites to the mountain to cause the avalanche. But I think there was a couple incidents that happened. They decided to not use the cannons anymore, and they started using helicopters, which was a little bit more safer.
Oh, okay, just drop them from the
Just
sky.
drop on the
safer.
sky,
Yeah.
let it go. Once they stop, they come with front loaders and they clean up the whole thing.
Yeah.
So when we were driving up to Kamloops on the first time, I get nervous all the time. I just try not to transmit the nerves, especially when I have a 2 years old on the back seat
Right.
and
And
my wife
you mean
next
winter driving?
winter drive.
Yeah, of
And
course. Yeah.
we never drove like on those conditions, never. And the windshield start freezing. The heating system was not keeping up, was way too cold.
Oh man.
It was I can't believe it. When I get there, it was like a 4 long
Yeah.
hours of my life to get to the place. Once we came to Kamloops, it was a small town for us at the beginning. We like in thinking half an hour, we saw the entire city. And me and my wife, one look to another, say, "Well,
Here we are.
here we are. Yeah, it's another life we have to get used to." And you know what? It don't take too much time. Like a month or 3 months, you get used to that life. It's a calm. It's a different perspective.
So you're working for a design firm in Kamloops?
For design firm in Kamloops, they hire me for the project division, but also with the intention to expand with the construction.
Okay.
So they wanted to do the project management part as well. So I think I did a couple of years on the design, and then we start the construction.
Sure. And so what brought you to Atlantic Canada from the West Coast? Was it your job with Atlas Trust, or was it prior to that?
Was a prior to there. I did quite a few. I had a few different works in back there in BC. After I left this company who hired me, I got to work with the manufacturer firm. I was a subcontract as a carpenter lead to work up in Alberta.
Okay.
So this firm, they build a modular for the oil industry, and it was just like a camps. Yeah. And at that time, they was building a 3,200 man camp in CNRL site. So they hired me as a subcontract to build. They call this snow roof. It's basically the safety. It's amazing. Like sometimes you don't even know if you can go to the washroom by yourself, because they say like when you work in town, you do things there you never imagined that can hurt yourself.
Like you can get away with.
You can get away to. And when you go to a site like that, the first priority is your safety, and they take that very serious, because if you have like a 3 or 4 infraction, you can be kicked out of the site, and you never can come back. Mm-hmm. It's very serious. So I was working for this small construction company that was subcontracted for Horizon North at this site, and we were building this roof. And they had I think like 3 incidents. Some incidents they believe there was one was like a back injury. One of the employees wasn't feeling good. He say, "Oh, I have a back injury." So when you have a back injury, you have to report. Once you report, that becomes recordable for the company. And there was a couple more, and then Horizon North asked them to leave site because your records are gonna cause our insurance to raise. And what happened? Horizon North also can lose the contract with the oil field. They don't want it was millions and millions of dollars on the game, so they cannot lose that contract. So they let this company go, and they hire a few of the employees. So that's when they hire me to be part of to be an employee instead of subcontract.
Right.
And then I become a carpenter lead for Horizon North on site. That only took like about 6 months, and then
that's a pretty good shift from what you were, in such a strong roles in architecture firm. Then all of a sudden you're on site and
yeah.
Do you have carpentry experience prior to that?
Oh, I love wood.
Yeah.
Anything to do with wood. Like the construction in Brazil, it's all cement. It's all North American. It was when my passion for the wood construction really jumped.
Right. So you don't see wood construction in Brazil much.
No.
As far as the structure of the buildings.
I believe even today, they started using drywall there, probably like 10 years ago. But all the walls,
prior to that, what was it? Plaster?
Just cement board, like a cement block.
Okay, all block wall, and then just
it was
paint
plastered.
it or put stucco or some kind of acrylic finish on it.
Yeah, that's it. And today they do interior walls with metal studs. Mm-hmm. But what happened? The South Pine is not strong enough. It's not structurally sound as the North American pine.
Right. The softwood species that you're
It's
going to
too-
see in lumber is not
It's not strong.
right. So it's more feasible not to.
You can do furnitures, you can do other
Yeah.
things, but not
Okay.
you cannot use as a structurally.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why unfortunately wood there they didn't go through it, but they can manufacture a steel studs for reasonable price. If
Just
probably
cold rolled steel. It's pretty
yeah
basic.
yeah. I'm pretty sure this will be cheaper than I never compared the price, to be honest, but must be very comparable with the wood stud that we have over here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially with the cost of lumber that seems to be in the latest.
Yeah, exactly.
Mind you, steel is up too. But.
Yeah. So one day at the lunchroom there, and the general manager, he was on site, and he started asking. He did like such a different meeting one day. Every day we had a safety meeting, and on this specific day, he asked every employee, what you see yourself doing on the company. And when they came to my turn, I say, well, I can see myself doing quality control, because there was a few things there that could be improved, and it took like a month. They promoted me to a quality control on site. So I did a quality control for the finish of this job at the CNRL. Then the next job came up was Suncor, also is a big one. There was a 1,200 man camp, amazing. In these camps, remember they bring these people all over the Canada, and some people even overseas to work there for 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. So they want these people to feel home. So anything that you have in town.
You're talking about the people helping build the modular spaces for the rig, the people working the rigs, or the people working for the oil company.
For the oil company.
Yeah. They're coming in just for a few weeks for that oil site, and then
they want to make sure those people is being well treated.
So how extensive were these 3,200 homes in this project you speak of with Horizon North? Like it's pretty basic modular construction, right? It's not like a basic mobile home type thing.
Yeah, it's a basic modular construction. They invest very good on the quality. Everything is amazing quality.
Yeah.
The restaurant, the food, it's better than most restaurants in town. Gymnasium, the gym, all the equipment is all high end. Theater room. Some camps even have like a bar, but on our the company we work for was a dry camp, so we're not allowed to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, but.
Means the production level is probably a bit higher.
Yeah, exactly. No, so yeah, you're not allowed to drink or drugs. Drugs was a zero. If you catch you one time, you're gone.
Yeah.
So I did there until few years, and then we had the oil crash, another crash, and then this company only did manufacture modulars for camps for all the oil field, and there was no more market from in 1 week.
So did they pivot?
They lost everything, so they say, okay, let's switch gears. What can you do? Okay, let's build the hotels. So they started building a hotel. They got modular hotels.
Okay.
They got the first contract with what was was one hotel in BC. By the time I started doing, I did the project I helped work with this project for the hotel, and I did some multi-units project, like a high-end. The same time that I was there, they bought, there was another manufacturer in town for really high-end houses. They sell houses most for Vancouver, for vacation homes, like a second homes. That was back in 2016, I believe, 2015. The cost of construction for this house was $700 per square feet.
$700.
$700.
8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Sounds pretty high.
Yeah, it's very high. All this it was all 9-foot ceilings, 10-foot ceilings. All the box was built with a steel, so they don't have any fluctuation when they transport or when they crane. All the drywalls, everything was a 2x8. It was not even 2x6 for the exterior. The interior, they used the 2x6 walls. The kitchen cabinets was everything was like a high end, so it was very pricey. So Horizon North, bought this company, and so I was able to do a couple of houses, like custom homes, for some of the clients in Vancouver Islands, and until I left, then I went to do the project management. I went to the Vancouver Community College,
Okay.
and then I started the project manager firm. Yeah. So that was in BC. Going back to your previous question, how we found New Brunswick. When I was working in Alberta, I had a lot of friends from the East Coast.
Sure, they would have been out there on the rigs.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
And everybody was telling me, say, Arides, for the house that you have there in BC, for a regular house, you could buy an oceanfront in Halifax. And I always went there, look on the
Especially at that time.
at that time.
Now the gap would be a little closer.
Very close, yeah. Especially in New Brunswick, in Moncton. I was always looking on the Realtor.com just to see what is the price on the rest of the country. And I remember that a couple times I look at Vancouver, Moncton, I look at St. John, and you could buy a house for $60,000, like a 4-6 units. I couldn't not feed down my head. How can you buy a 6 units for $50,000? How can you live there? Because if it's that cheap, that means there's
When was this? What year?
That would probably be 2016, 2015.
Okay. Wow.
That was quite a long time ago. And these people, they always people complain all the time. Like it doesn't matter if you make a $40,000, you complain because you want to make 60. When you make $80,000, you complain you don't make 100. And so far, it's like it's the nature of the human. We always want more. Okay. Yeah. So this friend of mine is always complaining. No, there's no salary there. There's no jobs. Say, but I couldn't imagine. I said, it gotta be some way. I'm sure there's people who live there who make living in these places. I mentioned a couple times to my wife, and she never got interested, and I just let her go. We're happy there in BC. And one day she was watching the news, and she saw this Brazilian woman on the news from Moncton talking about immigration, talking about the Brazilian community. And she looked at the map, and she was saying like good things, and say this is really close to Boston. And we made some good friends in Boston. We started missing there. To go from Vancouver to Boston, it's cheaper just to go to France or any other place because it's really expensive to travel on this distance. It's a far distance. Yeah. And I say, she was interested, and I was interested. I wasn't too happy there in BC anymore, and I say, okay, let's go there to Moncton to visit. So she came with her mind, I came with my mind, and say, where we're gonna live? I say, okay, let's make some list of here, and let's visit a couple places. So we want to go to Halifax, and in my mind, I want to go St. John, and Fredericton and Moncton. I love sailing. I had a sailboat before, and it's my passion. I want to be near the water. So my head was stay either Halifax or St. John. There was no question about it. So we came here in 2008 in March.
Quick shout out to the newest sponsor of the show, the Stone Depot. The Stone Depot is located in Bears Lake, Halifax, but serves all of the East Coast. The showroom over 8,000 square feet, perfect for masonry contractors, landscaping contractors, builders, developers. Regardless, the Stone Depot is a great option for you, whether you're doing fire pits, patio stones, kitchen and interior stones. So if you're looking for a great stone supplier, visit the Stone Depot. This episode is brought to you by Airtight Spaces. Airtight Spaces is Atlantic Canada's first authorized aero barrier dealer. They help create comfortable, healthy, and durable living environments with the added benefit of energy efficiency. Air sealing is a critical step towards net zero buildings. Using air pressure to automatically guide sealing guarantees the highest quality results in the least amount of time with the least amount of effort. If air sealing is important to you, you can visit Airtight Spaces at www.airtightspaces.com. Pivot Bookkeeping is your one-stop shop and customizable bookkeeping, tax, and filing service. With Pivot, you have the peace of mind knowing your taxes are always filed on time and your bookkeeping is reconciled often. Using their non-proprietary software and applications, all of your business finances are securely handled by their local account managers. Pivot takes great pride in providing you with unlimited support and a direct line to your account managers right here in Nova Scotia. Whether you're an established business looking for new options and increase efficiency, or a newer company looking to build a solid foundation for future growth, Pivot has a product that can be modified to your needs. Consider making the pivot today. Book a free consultation at pivotbookkeeping.com.
To visit. St. John wasn't too pleasure to visit. It was a time. I think it was the site that we visit. We didn't ask anybody where to go. We just drove around, and the place that we drove was a lot of plywood on the windows. Quite a few people live on the street, and say, "Well, I don't think this is the place to live. I don't think will be a lot of work over here because." This is not a good sign when you have same block, like a 3 or 4 buildings with the plywood on the windows. We went to Fredericton. A good friend of mine, they told me Fredericton was because the capital. If you like technology, if you work with technology, that's the place to go because you can find a lot of work. We just didn't find attractive. There was no, and because we have a young kid, we want something fun for her to do it, and it was a river. It's a river there in town, but we spoke with some young people, some teenagers, and they didn't convince us that was the place. When it came to Moncton, it was amazing. Like I saw the buildings, all new buildings. Even that was in 2008. Was a lot of construction, and you can tell the city was growing. To make a decision to move, we still a little carefully because we contacted a real estate. A realtor, and the realtor mentioned to us, say, Arides, if you buy the wrong house over here, you're going to be stuck for at least 1 year to sell because you cannot sell that.
Market's not that hot.
No, it's not. Rental, you have to leave. You have to give like a 3 months notice. I say, wow, 3 months notice. And in BC, if you say that you're moving out, next day you already have 2 people want to take your place. And I told my wife, say, no, I don't want to buy a house as soon as we move. Let's rent one. And then a year later, because I don't want to buy in the wrong place, and then we'll be stuck with this house and not going to sell. So we rent a house in the App area. It was a pretty good area. And then 6 months, 6 months later, we decided to buy one in the Royal Oaks. Was near where the school that my daughter, eventually, she was going to go to the high school. So this house was sitting on the market for 3 years, brand new. And I think it was asking $260 at the time. We bought it for $230.
And on the market for 3 years, a brand new
3
home.
years, brand new home.
Wow.
And today, you can sell a house in Moncton even before finished construction.
Yeah.
You cannot build as fast they can sell.
Yeah.
The market is amazing. Got my first job in Moncton at Atlas Structure System with like a week, something. Because I when I came to visit, I met this Cuban architect who worked at Atlas as a designer there, and he introduced me to the manager, and we got a good feeling. And when I finally moved here in July, a week later I was working for them. It's pretty easy transition. Good place.
Yeah.
I can say that I learned quite a bit working for Atlas.
This would be wood truss and open web joist and modular.
Yeah, it was a part of my life that was missing the structural part of the house. You know, it's good when you can design something that you know you're gonna stand.
Yeah.
And that thing was missing for me. And then the things is missing for a lot of the designers. They don't have the experience.
Right.
So you don't know how.
You've got a really diverse background with your different positions in Brazil, with a lot of eccentric projects. Obviously, since you were 12 years old, then on to your journey, and you're taking a PM certificate at the community college in Vancouver. You're working as a carpentry lead and quality control, and then now here in with Atlas Truss and stuff. So was it always your plan to kind of
No,
break out onto your own? No.
my head was always architecture. That always was the passion, and
But not to have your own firm.
I I cannot say that I had that in my mind. My acting was without me even notice that I was pushing towards
Even
that.
as an employee, or like if you mentioned the story of being called out to, what would you prefer in your role as a quality control, so already thinking of the best interest of the company all along anyway, maybe
Yeah.
subconsciously, or not really realizing
Yeah.
that was there.
In I cannot say for the first job, but for the second or the third company I worked for, I never thought about money. Never. The money was, I had something in my mind. They say the money is a consequence. The first thing I need to know if I'm going to like the company. If I like it, because I can get bored too easily. I need to know that if I have a challenge. If I don't have the challenge, I'm not going to stay on the job. Doesn't matter how much they pay me. Like,
I find that comment very interesting as an entrepreneur, is when you say, I never cared about the money. It's like, as a business person, you have to care about that, right? But at the same time, if it's the only way that you're making decisions, I guess, that's an operations manager. That's how they make decisions, right?
Yeah.
It's
But-
an interesting statement, though.
but can you imagine you doing something for 25 years? That's something that you hate just because you make a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a big problem for a lot of
It
a lot of
is,
people.
yeah. And later on,
So your attitude toward money was
was the
maybe
consequence.
always that of an entrepreneur as well.
Yes,
all
I
along.
think so. Yeah, without thinking,
But
but
that change once you had dependence, like once you had a child, like you mentioned, in Boston, and then moved here and there. Did it change your thinking, or are you still able to move freely?
it's kind of different because I'm a dreamer person. I can dream
Yeah.
with my eyes open.
Yeah.
My wife, she's the solid ground of the family.
So you complement each other well.
Yes.
Meaning she lets you dream, but she reins you in a little bit. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Or just gives a more analytical.
Yeah, and she say she never say no, but she say, "Are you sure they're gonna go through it?" And then that she throws the ball back on my court.
Yeah.
And like or not, you okay, you can take chances, but depends how big is your chance.
Yeah.
That can be
Calculated risk.
it is calculated risk. You have to take calculated risk. It's what is your plan B? So do you have your plan B? So I always thought that, okay, if something goes wrong, what
Yeah.
can I do?
Takes away the anxiety.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I did that a couple of times, and I took the risk. So on Atlas, and I do believe I can say there that I left the doors open. If something goes wrong, I
Right.
can come
You're
back.
very transparent. You said, this is what I'm going to do. I feel like I want to do this. And
Yeah.
But when did you know that you were going to, that 46 North group of companies, you were going to just go out on your own? Was it something that had been building at least for a few months, or was it just like, I need to do this. I need to try now.
So I was a account manager there at Atlas, and we seen some projects that came through our desk, because what happened, Atlas and other companies too, who sells the engineered products, they also provide the engineering for those products. So you cannot manufacture a roof truss if you don't have the engineer behind that.
Yeah.
So you have to support what you sell. So that's what we did. We size, we design, but there was some project that came to our desk. There wasn't they didn't have that good quality, or they have some a little bit of mistakes, and not just that. In some parts of New Brunswick, the city or the city inspector didn't even request a project. You can build a little addition there just with a piece of paper, do a little square there, and they're happy with that. It's fine. But if you buy a trusses, you have to bring the stamp. That's the only thing they ask. And some clients didn't even had a drawing. So most homeowners, they are scared to contact an architect or a designer. For some reason, They
Because of the don't know the language, maybe? Is it
I don't
intimidating?
know.
or-
It's a tough one, but they feel comfortable to contact the builder first. Like
Or
you
does the
can,
builder tell them that?
and the
Sometimes.
builder tell us to come.
Don't contact the consultant, talk to us first.
No. Actually, I have a couple of builders, like a good friends. They were work together on many projects.
That doesn't
They
agree.
they send the clients to us. They say, well, you first thing you need to, the client comes to them and say, well, okay, I want to build a 1,500 square foot home. When can we start? They say, well, do you have drawings? No, I don't have drawings. So, well, that's the first thing, you need drawings. Then they send to us, so then we can take care.
Yeah.
And sometimes the clients come to us and they don't have a builder. Then we have a few builders on the list there that we're comfortable to give their name and go forward. But of course, we work with anybody. So when I was on Atlas and we see the opportunity, and then I always had the side job, like a problem most people does, and I work on nights, couple weekends. There was a time that my part-time became a full-time, and
So working two jobs.
I
at
worked
that
two
time.
jobs, and I was no weekends. I would work on nights and weekends, and I came to Atlas and say, okay, we have an issue. So I right now I have two full-time jobs, and I can't handle. I'm getting too stressful, and I spoke with my wife before I talked to Dan and say, what do you think? I think I have enough job to carry me for 6 months. 6 months is guaranteed that I have a job. And she say, well, what are you gonna do if in 6 months you don't get any more jobs?
Yeah.
I say, well, I can either go back to Atlas, or I can go do construction, like a framing. I had all equipment on my garage. Like I can build a house. That's not a problem.
Right.
She say, okay, if you're not scared, go ahead.
So you started building homes then.
No. I say if something goes wrong,
Right. That was your plan B.
That
Yeah,
was my plan B.
sorry.
So I built a few houses in BC during that time
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But here, then she gave me the green light. I came to Atlas and say, okay, I think it's time for me to go on my own, and I can give you as many notice as you need, 2-3 weeks if I can train anybody. But I'm gonna go on my own, and I hope you guys support me on that. I say no, for sure, I understand. Then I'm gonna start for. Then it was the 46 North came to plan. So then I started structurally. What I gonna do? I don't wanna just leave Atlas for just to do design. I wanna structure a company that can grow. So let's make an umbrella.
This was only a few years ago, 2021. Right?
Yes, exactly. 2020
So
we started the
halfway
plan.
through 2023, and you have 11 employees, right? Currently?
Yes, 11 employees.
Yeah.
So I structured the company. So okay, let's build an umbrella. So this umbrella, we can create sub companies work underneath this umbrella. And because I have family, I want some protection, and I want some better tax bracket as well. The name, we say, okay, let's create we already had a Cabreira design. It was like a small business, was no registration, was no corporation. Say, okay, let's incorporate it, and let's create a 46 North group of companies. So the 46 North, we can put a Cabreira design underneath. That will be the first company. And if we start building a house for our own, there will be a holding company underneath 46 North and so forth. The project management also can go underneath 46 North. So there'll be 46 North project management and so forth. So
you want to be able to offer from inception and design through management of the build to turnover, and then have the holdings company to own some of these properties.
I was always carefully with that because I didn't want my clients to think that I'm over deeping all taking jobs from them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want to be a little more focused, maybe, or not seem as I don't use the word
competition.
grandiose, but competition. Yeah, right away.
You cannot compete with the people who bring you a job. It's not fair. And I seen a lot of companies.
But a lot of the clients you first took were you were doing that one service. It was design work.
It's design
a
work.
lot of that.
Yeah. But my idea for the project management was to do something big. I didn't want to do the little house for work for someone. I want to build the
Yeah.
houses for ourselves and
Some larger commercial
for large
projects, yeah.
commercial for us. So that way, I kind of I yes, I was still gonna take job from another construction company, but I was not gonna compete with my own group that
Right.
provide me jobs.
But if the right client comes through the door as a, with for design, and doesn't have any current relationships with CM or construction management, then you're able to offer that to them as well,
That-
right? And that's kind of the
That was the intention.
yeah.
Yeah.
And has that scenario happened on the commercial side?
No,
Not
didn't,
yet.
Didn't happen because after I left Atlas, in 1 month, 4 more clients came up, and they offered me, they wanted me to design their custom homes. Well, it was all 2,000, 3,000 square foot homes, was like a big houses. And then with the first month, we got the first multi-unit. It was like an 8 units apartment building. Then we got another one, was a 4 buildings, 2 of a 48 units each. One
So
of
multi-res,
multi-res
6-story
was the-
buildings.
was the
Where were these
biggest one.
buildings located? All in Moncton or
Miramichi.
Miramichi?
Yeah,
Okay.
was a big area there. So that was the first large project.
So all this design work came right away.
Right away on the first month.
Right.
And
So then you needed to hire,
so
because it was just yourself, or did you have people you knew were going to be involved or work with you
No.
prior to? So it was
no,
you.
it
You
was
were
just me.
freelancing.
It
You were
was just me.
freelancing.
I took a space there, an office at my house. I built my office there, and okay, let's go from here. Then that was the same time the COVID was already happened. There was on the second year of COVID. My wife also was working from home, and because she was working at the company there in town, with the COVID, they shut down everything, so
Yeah.
everything went work from home. And I told her, I said, "Wow, I need to hire someone. And I don't want to say no for a job." So I think I found I can't remember if my first employee was from the architect from Philippines or was from the one from Brazil. I think it was from the one from Philippines.
Right. And did you purposely, when you knew you were going to need employees to scale, to grow, you knew this thing was probably gonna work. You had work lined up. You had all this design work come your way, so you knew you had to work for at least a year, say, or something. And so I can hire 2-3 people now, give them a salary.
Yeah.
I know the revenue's coming in to pay
Yeah.
this expense. Did you go right away to hire immigrant workers? Was that something that you kind of had a hard for
No.
because of the journey you've been on?
I tried locally. I couldn't find anybody locally. There was nobody available.
Right.
And then I did Kijiji.
And like nobody available due to lack of people with the right amount of experience, or just everybody was working, or because you were a new company you couldn't attract
No,
Yeah.
there's no response.
labor shortage.
Labor shortage.
Okay.
So I think I did. I put a post on the Indeed, and that's when I got the first contact. But it was all international. I think I got like about 20 resumes. Nobody in Canada. Everybody outside Canada.
Mhm.
On the same group that I was to, I met this other architect that was from Brazil. That was there in Moncton. Well, probably within 3-4 months, she was living there.
Okay.
And I saw the post. I called her for interview. She had a little bit of English. She had some English, and I hired her. I think she was the second one, but the first one was from the Philippines. So the distance kind of scared me a little bit.
So she's mobilized here now, or
No,
she's
no,
working
she's-
virtually. Okay.
she's still
so a lot
there
of these
virtually.
designers are working virtually.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
half of them.
Half of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was an architect. She had like a plumber's license. She did a contract with the U.S. Air Force.
Wow.
She did some kind of nice, very nice projects, and she was an employee back at the time. And I always felt a little scary especially when I was on the beginning, because you don't never know if things gonna go well. And then, for example, you offer a job to someone that is already employed on the company for 2-3 years. That person quits that job, but you're not too sure if you're gonna have a job, if you're gonna have enough work to keep that person busy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a little bit of concern that I always had.
Well, I think that's something that especially with a startup, or, you're right. That's part of the weight that you carry is it's like the paradox of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Do I hire these people now and hope that the work comes in? Because if I wait until 3 months from now for word or for confirmation that I'm going to have, then they're not going to be available.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of decisions that you got to navigate whenever
Exactly.
you're building up. And it's like it's a constant push-pull, constant riding that wave.
Because the client who came to you for work, asking for your service, he needs that no matter what. Doesn't matter if you can do it, if someone else going to do it. If you say no, the chances are that that client never comes back.
Yeah.
Because you prefer, on some clients' mind, you prefer to supply service to somebody else instead.
Yeah, it's very hard to turn away work when you're starting out.
So you can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so I hired her. She was amazing. She's been with me that's the third year. She never took a day off, other than holidays and all that stuff. But no, we never had to. It was a good weekend.
So how fast did you get up to 11 employees that you're at currently? Was it just like every 3 months you were hiring, or what?
So she came in the first month. With a month and a half, we hired another architect from Brazil.
Okay.
And she's now lives here in Halifax. She got a better offer. She got an offer at a bigger company, and she lives over here now. I think 2 months later, within 3 months, I hired another architect, Andressa Damero from São Paulo. She's with me up to today, just over 2 years now. Okay. And she did amazing works too. So for example, if I go back to
run us through
Marjorie.
And
Marjorie was the first one. So she did a contract for U.S. Air Force project in United Arab Emirates. So that was one of the big challenges for her. I think it was like a 3 years project.
In the UAE?
UAE.
What part?
She didn't say.
Okay.
Yeah, it was I think it was all
confidential.
I bet it is. Yeah.
Maybe
US.
Dubai or something like that.
And she did a project for the village of the president of United Arab as well, for his personal village there. So that was pretty exciting. Within 3 months, Andressa Damero came. So Andressa also was an architect from Brazil. She was working at Home Depot Design Kitchen. So she invited me to be friends. I think it was on Facebook or Indeed. I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
And I saw her background. I said, okay, I invite her for. She never applied. So I need someone. I need some help, urgent. And then she came and we started working with the same week. She did some amazing works in Brazil. So our experience is, if we include the experience for our team that we have, she did like a large mall in São Paulo. The challenge for this mall was built over a contaminated area, so they had to reclaim all the land, make sure there was no contamination, and then build the mall on top. Carandiru, probably you heard about it. That was the famous jail there in São Paulo. They had a massacre. A lot of people died there.
Massacre, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what year it was, but they shut down. They moved all the prisoners from there, and the company she was working for was hired to recuperate that building. So they made a shopping, school, center of education on that building. So it's being used again.
Right.
But
so
not
they
as
did
a prison.
Big retrofit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then the challenge for her, they asked her, what is your challenge? She say, well, for the 20 years experience that she had in Brazil, with all this, she did a project. She was responsible for all Walmart throughout Brazil for project and construction. So she has a lot
Walmarts. Okay.
Walmarts.
Right.
So with all the experience that she had, when she comes over here,
that's great retail experience.
Great retail. Yeah. When she came over here to do custom homes, the first thing I told to her is, forget everything you learned in Brazil. It's different. Yeah, it's if you try to forget what you learned in Brazil, you're gonna learn this system much faster, and you're gonna enjoy. It's a different project, so
So you kind of had to unlearn some things.
some learn. Yeah, the construction method is different, and
What's all of her skills though would be so transferable. It's
it
it's
is.
just a no other way to kind of learn the difference, but just to go and kind of immerse yourself in it. So,
Like and it's not like a, for example, as simple as a gas station. Everybody think, well, to design a gas station it's simple, but there's a lot of rules behind to come up to design and build a gas station or a Walmart system, and she has that background. So if we get any clients walking to our door today, they want to build something like that size, we have the experience, not just to build, but to manage, to run that project from the beginning to the end. So consider all the experience that we have.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've got like a put together, I mean, an amazing team. And
Yeah.
you're saying like half, are immigrant
Immigrants.
workers
Yeah.
that are working virtually from be it the Philippines or Brazil, where you're from,
Yeah.
and the other half are local, but they're also from some of these other countries as
With
well,
the,
right?
with the international background, yes.
Okay. Do you have anyone working for you that is from here?
No.
Yeah. No.
I had one for work for 3 days, and she couldn't stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know I have lots of friends in the city here who all have, their companies basically fully
So
foreign.
so I was my next step is to convert the firm from a design status to architecture firm. Okay, so because our team, most even so they are architects, we're not licensed in Canada, so but with all the
So that's the reason that you want to pivot to that, is just for licensing. Is it kind of a legality? What's the difference for our listeners?
Canada, the building code allow us to design any building. There are two sections of the building code. One we call Part 3, and one we call Part 9. Part 9 is considered like a small buildings. So that means the footprint of the building cannot be more than 600 square meter and cannot be more than 3 stories. Doesn't mean that,
Right. So it still allows you to be in commercial space, multi-res,
Exactly.
but beyond 3 stories, beyond that
3
square
stories.
footage.
Yeah, and of course we need included with our team. We have our associates. We have a structural engineer firms that work with us all the time. We have a civil engineers. We have mechanical engineers. That
Like these aren't all internal to
That's not
46 North.
That's
no.
not intern. That's a subcontract.
Yeah.
That is just like a team that we put together. We work with them all the time.
You're all designers, some of which are architects.
Yes.
Yes.
But these firms, they are licensed engineers, structural engineers.
course, yeah.
Because when we do, for example, we had a few 12 units, 18 units apartment buildings, and those ones we are allowed to design, but we still have to have a structural engineer behind. We need to have a structural engineer of record on the project, and also for
Mechanical, electrical as well.
same thing.
Yeah.
Electrical depends on the size. Up to 12 units, we don't need
okay.
electrical
Right.
engineer. We need a mechanical engineer. We need
But you've already done well beyond that, right? Because you had the first couple of requests for 48 units and
Yes.
probably 6 stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those ones was a 4 stories, the 48 units, and so those are considered like still considered like a small buildings. So for example, if you take a restaurant on the shopping mall, the restaurant is small, like if you go on the food court, those are such a small space, but that space belongs to a large scale building or the shopping mall. That shopping mall is a Part 3. So we're not allowed to touch something that size without being licensed architect.
Right, because of the square footage.
Because of the square footage.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's other.
So that's going to be a barrier for you to grow into some of those larger commercial projects.
If we want to pursue that route, yes. Like
And
for
then
example,
a different terrain is also for your competitors and things like that.
yeah,
too.
and like a shopping mall or airport. If you want to design an airport or someday, we have the team to do that, and we have the knowledge.
You already have that skill set in
We have the skill
to
set.
design an airport.
We just don't pursue that because right now we have about 25 projects on the go. Each team member, some that has 2 projects working at the same time.
So this could be anywhere from multiple residential homes that are 15 to 3,000 square feet or custom homes, and then some you could have jobs at a shopping mall, could be a multi-unit res, all kinds of different.
All kinds of different projects. So, I don't want to sound wrong. I have more. Of course, I want to design a skyscraper someday in Moncton or in Halifax or anywhere in the Atlantic, just because it's a business card. Like when you design a building like that, in architects we say the same. That's
Guarantees you future business.
That's my business card. That building
That's your
is
resume.
going to stay there for 100
years,
100 years. Yeah, it's not nobody going to tear that building down. A house it's not the same. But the pleasure on designing a custom home, it's the end user. Sometimes you act as a.
So the passion's still there in that regard too, right? It's just a different kind of client, different end user, different dynamics.
It's all depends what passion that you're following. Like we're following this. We're still on a small building proportion considerably. Not that we advertisement to get anything bigger than that. We do have the team and we do have the knowledge to do it. And we do have so the next expansion that I would like to do in the company is to do the conversion from the design to architecture firm, and we have a partner to achieve that goal, and hopefully we can either this year or next year we can do
So
it.
currently, how many projects are you working on outside of New Brunswick? You said you're working on some south of the border in Boston.
Outside New Brunswick, I believe we have about 12 projects.
12 of the 25 are not in New Brunswick.
No.
Other provinces in Atlantic as well, or mostly south of the border?
No, south of the border. I haven't done nothing yet in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
That is something that we.
Well, obviously something that you're open to.
Of course. Yeah. And I drive to Boston every month. There's come to Halifax is a short distance. Instead, my drive to Boston about 8 hours. Over here is like 2.5 hours.
So can you tell us about some of the projects that you have currently or that you've done, since 2001 and the inception of 46North Group? You mentioned some multi-res, in New Brunswick. I think you said Miramichi. What about some of the ones that are south of the border? Like, are these all residential homes? As you mentioned, 125 home kind of.
Yeah, we have a contract with a manufacturer firm. We had one in Indiana, and now we are working with another one in Texas.
Designing their warehouse.
Design their house. So this is a different type of project that we will supply.
Industrial.
It is industrial. So when you design a house here in Canada, the building code only requires architecture or design. That's it. Doesn't require anything more than that. With our package, we offer part of the structurally and part of the electrical. We don't call it electrical because it's not required by code, but we call it like a lighting plan. Lighting plan, all the data, where the plugs, because when we design a house with the furniture layout, we know what's the best layout for lighting, for plugs, and anything like that. For manufacturer, it's different. It's a beam design. It's a beam management. So with the beam,
steel or wood?
Wood. All wood. We have to design everything you put on a house, like a hinge, a hanger.
This is what you're doing with the client from the States. Is you're designing the
manufactured homes.
Manufactured homes. Okay.
So everything goes on a like if you do. It has like some metal
like a timber framed home. I'm trying to picture. Okay.
Just a regular house. Like once.
Okay. It's all wood product.
It's a wood product. Like have you seen Kent homes? Do you? Same thing.
Okay.
So some people confuse that with a mobile home. It's not a mobile home. So mobile home is one thing that
or modular.
It's a modular home
method. Okay.
Yeah. Some municipality they don't accept mobile homes because they want it to be a permanent structure.
Right.
Modular construction, it is a permanent
So
construction.
we'll bring up some pictures of these as we're talking about them when
Yeah.
we release this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people know.
So these houses, they want to build 5 houses per week on the production line. So everything has to be taught before it goes to the production. It's not like when you're doing a custom home that you're doing the frame and then you bring the homeowner. Okay, let's walk to the floor and see where you want to put lights, where we're going to put plugs. It's not like that. It has to be
Said
done
5 houses per week
5 houses per week.
assembled
When
on
it-
site.
One starts at the beginning of the line. The other one is leaving at the end door. Done.
Out the warehouse door to
Yeah.
go to site.
Yes.
All the pieces ready to assemble.
Yeah.
Modular. Okay.
And then we build with the modular. We have to build up the process. How we're gonna put this house together?
Right. So you're designing the home. You're designing the parts, and you're also designing like the logistics and the critical path, and also the process.
The process.
Right.
Because on manufacturer construction, they want to do it the most as possible indoor. So anything you do indoor, you save money. You have a control ambient, no rain, no sun.
Not subject to the weather variables.
Yeah, no, exactly. So anything you do inside, it's a lot more economical and faster. But it's impossible. So some job, it has to be done on the site. So if you do exterior decks, this cutting or detachment, the roof system.
So do you leave those things outside of your scope for manufacturing then and just let them buy those materials and assemble them as they need to be? Or is it all kitted and kind of a part of the process? It's just built on site.
It's key part of the process, and it's supply with the modular construction.
Right.
For example, the roof system. The roof system with like a gable roof. In reality, it's not a gable roof. It's a hinge truss. So you build the truss to the limit height transportation, where you can transport on the highway, and those roofs we already have the shingles, everything done there. When they come to site, they crane those the top part of the roof.
2 different pieces of the roof together creates
on
the
a
gable,
hinge point.
On a hinge point. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the thought process that goes into how it can be manufactured, and then how can it be also delivered, and to create as little assembly on site as possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
The single story houses is a little bit more simple because it's more attachment to the foundation,
right?
And how you're going to do the roof and the siding, of course.
And so the type of construction that falls in with this client in the States that you're speaking about, these are homes, right? These are not multi-res. These are not major projects as far as square footage.
These all about 15 to about 3,000 square foot homes.
Right.
They're like
is the operation underway, or are you still working on the process?
No, it's already building the first
how
houses.
Are things going?
It's going good. A lot of change, a lot of learning curves for the manufacturer, and get used to.
Do you think
that
there's a niche there for a firm such as yours, or architecture firm that has the right people as part of their team to help design these modular processes, as well as not just designing the building, but also the manufacturing? Like, do you think there's a big
huge?
That's a huge niche right now.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's all kinds of people all over that.
Yeah, I can say, like, I can say today that I don't have a competition, or nobody has a competition. We have.
I can think of
have a team
I can think of 3 or 4 people that I've talked to in the last 6 months that would love to give you a call about that, because they're trying to do some of that and solve some of those problems in-house with project managers who might be good project managers on the site, but this you're taking the game here and flipping it on its head. This is totally different.
And like I said, you get more complicated when you do like a 2-story home, because how are you going to attach those this house together? You have to account for uplift, so the structural engineer comes on play. It's very important to have all that team, and the knowledge on the manufactured home is very important, because how we're gonna transport, it's one thing. How we're gonna attach, and how we're gonna connect all the plumbing, all the electrical. So all that has to be taught before you start producing.
Right. So do you think there's an advantage for you because you came from a place where there's more eccentric design for you to incorporate some of this stuff, this psychology, this cultural dynamic to what you're helping with
I
here in the States?
I think
Well, it makes me think of the home that you talked about. You know,
yeah, exactly.
the rotating home.
I ask for some of my teams because that's how my mind works. I I had a couple friends. They build engines like a car engines, and I always had a I always like to learn how to do that, but I never
Yeah.
had the opportunity. You know? So when I see something, okay, I never think how that thing runs. I always wanted to know how that thing was built.
Yeah.
So like for example, the engine. If you make a like a Dodge Charger engine, I don't really care too much about the power the engine creates, but I'm more curious to see how the engine was put together. That's my and the house is the same thing. I have one builder there in Boston that I designed most of his house. Even his personal house, I already designed like a 3-person house. We're going to the 4th house now. And he never went to school for interior design, but he's the best interior designer I ever met.
It's naturally.
He's naturally.
gifted.
He's naturally.
It's
It-
probably good that he didn't go to school and maybe in a way, you know, and
Probably.
learn
So I designed his house.
financial wise. I mean.
Yeah, and so some people, when they see a house, they want to see the final product. I always thinking how the house was put together. How can I build the house? Even before I started doing design, since I was like a young,
Yeah.
I always thought the process behind the process, the process behind the process, how to build. I never thought about the finished product. I always see how can I build that.
Right. So you're thinking almost like an engineer on the analytical side while you're
Yes.
designing,
Yeah.
you know, anything creative.
Yeah.
Got both sides of the brain.
Yeah,
functioning there.
engineer things like that for sure. And that was kind of is an engineer way of thinking. Some the construction, the architects design crazy buildings and how we put that together. So that
Right,
that's the
yeah.
engineer part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's neat to get some insight there. It's neat to hear too for our listeners, if they're site workers or just people that listen in, they're interested in how things are being built and stuff like that. You know, like what a glimpse into what it is to have a design firm or an architecture firm for that matter. Like what, you know, sometimes you're an architect and that means you're at a big corporate firm and you're basically doing paperwork and change orders all day. But then other firms, seems like yours, you're pretty confident. You say like a very diverse team, a lot of different background, really experienced people in different capacities, and you're working on a lot of different types of things. Like you want to do an airport someday, but you're working on design and manufacturing processes for modular homes while you're designing the actual homes and south of the border and doing all kinds of different kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
So
And sometimes you see a building, it's pretty simple building, or any, not just architecturally or construction, but anything that you're gonna do, you have to put the process together. So we have one other team member that we have on our company. He's from Ukraine.
is he hired prior to the invasion or
During invasion,
During,
actually.
okay.
Yeah. I even asked him if
So
he wanted to
did he
come into
move here?
Canada. No, he lives there.
okay?
So
A lot of people have moved here from Ukraine.
he's a mechanical engineer, and if you want to talk about process, this is the guy that he work and he live on the process. So
Yeah.
Chernobyl. So we do all
He worked on Chernobyl.
he worked there on Chernobyl.
Wow.
Years later was they
Like he worked on the cleanup part
on the-
after the disaster, or the whole nuclear plant
now
before that.
after the disaster.
Okay.
So he worked on they call like a new cave reconstruction. So he was responsible to design all the rebar structure to they built another structure on top to open up, and so he did all the concrete part, all the steel, the rebars
Okay.
for this construction. Years later, I don't remember on top of my head like when the incident happened, but he did this one like a few years ago, um, because they still have radiation in place. They build up this team, and you can only work 15 minutes. So
We were
you
talking about this earlier.
yeah.
Because of the radiation levels are still
So
present.
imagine you dress it up, put all your protection gear, go there, work on your rebar, 15 minutes, and then you clock sounds, you have to leave.
And how
then
much do they get paid by the hour per hour?
I would love to know that. That's pretty impressive. And,
Yeah.
and someone have to be behind that coordinate. So that's
So there's a new crew coming in every 50 minutes
Every 50
throughout
minutes.
a 24-hour process. And then that same person 24 hours later is allowed
Yeah.
back on another slot.
and because the number of the people, they can only work 15 minutes, and that project could take forever to complete. But they wanted to build this one on a short window, so they was working 24 hours a day, but only 15 minutes each time.
Wow.
So I don't.
Insane.
So you take 24 hours, divide by 15, so you know how many people you need.
Wow,
to
these are
work.
great stories from all these
Yeah.
employees that you've
Yeah.
assembled in the last. So you've got almost like a little global operation happening here in New
operation,
Brunswick
yeah.
and carrying out
Yeah.
work in the States and Canada
And the language. So
language barriers or no?
no language barrier, but the language capacity.
Yeah.
So this guy alone, he speaks Ukrainian,
Right. So you got Philippines,
Russian, Philippines,
Portuguese like
Portuguese,
yourself. Yeah.
Spanish.
But they all speak common English.
Our common language.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
the English is the main.
And well enough to get by.
To
Some
get-
better than others. But
No, yeah, some there are some confidence, I guess. You will have to sometimes we have to push someone to go.
Right.
I say no, I know you can do it.
I have people I worked with in the city here. Like they might be Lebanese. They've been here for a long time, and I understand them very well. But they're still kind of. I feel a little self-conscious when they start working with somebody who's local. That maybe my English is not that good. That's why he doesn't understand what I'm trying to say. But really, it isn't an issue of language. It's kind of like a self-conscious thing there too. With it.
Yeah, it's nervous. I like when you get for most people when you're too nervous, the language just go away.
Yeah.
But if you had a couple of beers, oh man, you can do a speech.
Well, just let them drink on the job. Then.
Yeah. So yeah, he has a good start. So this guy, and so he speak all these languages: German, French, Estonian, and Swedish.
Wow.
This
He
guy.
can speak that many different languages.
Yeah,
That's
he
very
speak that-
impressive.
Yeah. After Andres Demeter, our next employee, I believe, was Jenny. Yeah, Jenny, she's from Vietnam. She graduated architecture in Vietnam, and she did a master degree in France. So that's something I didn't know too, but I learned. That's why it's good to talk to all these people that you learn something different every
Of course,
time.
Yeah.
So France and Philippines and in Vietnam has some history. Years ago, I think the Second World War, and to compensate for I think what some the French did to them, they offered them a free scholarship. I don't think they offer anymore, but back when Jenny went to school, they paid for her entire school to do the master degree there in France. They paid for her rental. They even gave her like a bonus every month to study. If she wanted to travel on the weekends, it was transportation was free. So she did the master degree there. She learned. She can speak French perfectly.
Wow.
And Vietnam, of course. Then she moved over here. When she moved over here, her English was still. She was nervous. She was need to get a little better on her English. But her experience was amazing. She did hospitals in Vietnam. She did a project for school, university. So all big buildings. Again, like I did in Brazil, just like skyscrapers.
Mm-hmm.
She never designed also a single family home in Vietnam, just like a big buildings. And then she came to us. One thing they hired me. They make me hire her at the first day. she never said, she never mentioned
Money.
during the interview, if you hire me, I'm gonna be your best employee, or if you hire me, I'm gonna be able to give you the best I can do to design your projects. She always put herself as I was already hired her. Was that
It's
kind
interesting.
of, she never say if, no. And I mentioned, actually I mentioned for the first time to her yesterday, because we were talking about job interviews.
That was the reason why you
I say,
hired. Yeah.
Jenny, that's why I hire you. And you English, I know you had to improve, tal, but that wasn't a question for me. Was the your confidence that you put yourself, that you're only here. She was here for her first month in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
She was the first company she came. It was to our company.
Okay.
So that was it was something that made me invest on her.
Mm-hmm.
After there, we got two more. We had Louisa Walter. She's a young architect. She haven't done a lot of jobs yet, but her personality was pretty good. She say one the things she dreams is, she motivate her on every day is to achieve the other people's dream, to help achieve the other people's dream. So, and when you build a house, doesn't matter if it's the young couple that you want to build the first house,
Mm-hmm.
or is that person who say, "Oh, I'm downsized. This is my last house I'm gonna build." And I heard that so many times from people, and a couple of years later they come back again and say, "Oh, I'm building another house." By the way, it's when you put everything that you know you have to make that dream happen to those people, and sometimes you have to act as a balance keeper between the wife and the facilitator between the husband and the wife.
Or a marriage counselor. You mean?
Marriage counselor, yeah. And unfortunately, the wife always wins. Yeah, and it was
This is a fact of life.
It's a fact of life. And some clients, I know we had a good client a couple of years ago. We built his house. His passion with his wife was amazing. It was a nice couple. She had her way with him, and I told him when we were about finished with the project, say, you guys, during this process, these 3 months that we took to design your house, I learned so much about relationship, being with you guys, that I'm gonna carry that to my life day to day. Because a relationship is not easy. You have to make work, and that make work, it's every day, and it's not just at home, but like when you share an office space with someone, you have to make that work. It's a relationship that you have like a daily, and sometimes you see your coworkers more than you see your own family.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So you have to make that work.
Go ahead, sorry.
Unfortunately, that house never came out of the paper because he, at 6 months later, he found out he was cancer.
Oh no!
And he passed away 3 months later.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a sad story.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
But yeah, it was.
You never know, huh?
Yeah, he helped me grow. Even so, I'm 50 years old. I learned with that relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And some clients, they fight. Yeah, that's just the nature.
Yeah, that's just the nature of it.
Yeah. Another young architect, Barbara, also is from Brazil. She liked to help people achieve their dreams, and one of the special projects that she did was a community vegetable garden and a cultural venue revitalization there in Brazil. She hasn't done a lot of projects. I think she graduated a few years ago. Carla is the youngest team member that we have. She started a couple of days ago, actually.
Wow.
She's a civil engineer.
Okay.
And she worked on the tallest building in Brazil, and it is the second tallest building in South America. It's a 290 meters high, and it's a 77 levels. It's a pretty big building. It's a big skyscraper. Yeah. Was a finishing last year, 2022.
Well, so your hiring process to hire these different people with different backgrounds from different countries, What's it been like? Has there been a lot of thought process there, or has it just been a networking attempt?
A network. Yeah.
Right. So you're talking to other people and they're saying, you know, this would be, and you're very focused on what you're looking for, and
Yeah.
you're kind of,
Like one thing that we always looking for, is the respect. Um, we can it doesn't matter if it's man or woman. They have to have a respect for the team. They have to be a team player. Nobody's better than anybody. Like
Mhm.
you, it doesn't matter if you have a 20 years experience. Doesn't matter if you have 1 year experience. When you teach, even if you when you teach someone, you learn when you teach them. So
yeah, sure, it's the best way to learn.
yeah, exactly. So we're not allowed on our team if someone doesn't have that team environment, that team player.
Mm-hmm.
So you
And
you
that
have to have
keeps the
that respect.
culture secure.
Yeah.
It keeps your, yeah.
Exactly. And racism on our account on our office doesn't grow also because it's a multicultural.
Yeah.
And we have a clients from Africa, we have a clients from everywhere. So
You have clients from Africa that are
they're
either here,
They're
and,
here.
right.
Yeah, there's
So are they homeowners? Are they?
no developers,
Okay, developers.
investors. We
Sounds like a lot for you to manage as the CEO. With you know, you got a
you
lot
know
of
what is-
different.
do you know what's the best? The tough part, I think, for me, is the administration.
administration.
I
right.
think I don't think it's just for me. I don't think I speak by myself on that part.
But you have one of your staff that's
I have,
administration.
but you are the administration.
Yeah.
You
But you
get
really, it's hard for people to understand, I guess, and if you're in your shoes, how much you need help with those task oriented stuff. It's not because you don't want to sit and do that stuff. It's just that your mind is so full of different relationships, different opportunities, different points A and B to connect. Different. It's a full-time job just to run, just to have those meetings and kind of play out those ideas. And you need to have those other structures in place, or you can't.
most companies they fail in the first 3 years. And it's not because they don't have this, they don't have the service, they don't have the customer. Is they don't have the administration. The administration is I think is the biggest factor for the company to fail. Is because you just concentrate on one end. Like for example, I love the design part, but I cannot let go of the administration because it's important, and sometimes too the time management it's critical. Because you're not going to work 8 hours a day. Yeah, if you
It's nonstop.
No, it's a 12 hours a day at least. If you don't have to work on the weekends too, you have to make a time to visit clients. You have to make time to return their calls. You have to have time to make a proposal, and then payroll, invoice, even deposit the check. There are sometimes I had a check on my pocket for like a week. I didn't have time to go to the bank to deposit. Not that I don't need the money, but it's just I don't have the time.
Yeah.
So administration, people that you trust, it's important. On the same hand, I don't think I could work with anybody that I don't trust. So I trust all my teams, and but there are things that you have to do it. You just cannot let someone else do it.
Right. So where do you want to be with 46 North Group in the next 3 to 5 years? You're taking on projects in the States. You haven't done any in Nova Scotia yet. You've got 11 employees, lots of different backgrounds as a design firm.
Definitely Nova Scotia. It's one of my market that I want to explore.
And you want to explore into the construction management piece as well, as far as, or is that not on the agenda?
More probably to start the projects, and then we can run to the project management after that. Okay. But the project management will be strictly project management. I don't think
only of projects you've designed.
No. We can take over other architects as well. But I don't think we would like to do the construction itself. We just want to do the management.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, not as a GC, just a bridge between the finance and the construction. Yeah.
And even today, like for example, this morning.
And that's because of risk reasons.
No, it's just the number of employees. Yeah, like
Right.
if you GC, you
Yeah. Well, you have to go out and find a lot of expertise on
Yeah.
that front. There's a labor shortage right
labor
now.
shortage.
You can't provide those services to clients unless the person in that position has the right amount of experience, or it won't go well.
Yeah, and we had a meeting, a dinner meeting with the construction association a couple of weeks ago in Moncton, and the national president came to do a speech. He travels all over the country. He meets with the prime minister, and he mentioned the it's not this is not New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. This crisis that we have in the real estate is everywhere.
This labor shortage, this real
Labor
estate,
shortage
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
So it's funny. So we don't have we have the rental crisis. There's no rental units everywhere. So people, what happened? This young generation leaves their parents' home, go to college, and then they rent a place. Theoretically, you stay on this house, on this apartment for a couple of years, save some money, and give a down payment on their house, and then they buy a new house and move out. So that way they amped the rental units, make the rental units available for the next family. Finance rates too high, so this young family cannot afford to buy a house. So they stay longer on these units if they ever left the parents' basement, let's say, for example. So they rent this house, so they cannot leave because they cannot afford. A rental today is like a $1,700 to $2,000 a two-bedroom apartment. It's expensive. So they stay there. So there's no rental because finance charge too high. They cannot afford the house, so they stay on rent. So there's no rental available. The government trying to accommodate all the builders and incentive all the builders to build houses to rent. Now we don't have we have the labor shortage. There's no people to work.
Not enough people
Like
to work to get
once-
all those projects built.
Yeah, once you start a construction company, okay, now you start a construction company, it's easy, but how are you gonna do it? There's no have. If you
People
call
aren't there.
like today, if you call a reputable construction company or a GC, they're gonna tell you they only can build probably in December or next year.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
they
it takes us back to what you were talking about earlier with your own personal immigration story, and then the people that you're hiring virtually from these different countries. You wouldn't have been able to build the company you have today without hiring these people virtually from these other countries. You wouldn't have the expertise. You wouldn't have been able to find them.
You can only do so much during the day.
And a big way to solve the labor shortage is going to be with immigration.
Yeah.
And you see that happening obviously already. Lots of companies are hiring 20, 30 employees from different pools, different immigration pools, for whether it be concrete formwork or carpenters or whatever.
It's still a bridge there that we have to break that bridge when you work distance. They are, especially the type of construction is different. So if you hire someone from South America or from overseas, Philippines or whatever, there's not the same type of construction. And you can teach then. We have our training section every week. We have a group meeting, picture. The Google is a saver for all this because we can show pictures there and say, oh, this is how we put together.
So you have a group meeting with everyone every week.
Everyone, yeah.
Once a week at minimum.
Yeah, and we're trying to make everybody comfortable. Like, for example, this Carla, she's our newest employee, and she sent me a quick message one day, yesterday, and say, do you have a couple of minutes I can call you? Say, you don't have to send a message.
Just call.
Yeah. You're the same if you're here in the office. You just walk into my door.
Right.
If I can talk, I'll talk. If I cannot talk, I'll call you back.
So this is a model that's used a lot of times for local businesses where people just live, a few kilometers away. They're still working a hybrid model where they might only see each other in person once a week anyway, right? Or meeting virtually. So how have you found the communication for what you've built?
Yeah. Definitely the COVID helps quite a bit with this improved technology.
Yeah, of course.
And made people realize that there are other ways you can do work. It doesn't have to be face to face. But Again,
But you would prefer it to be,
oh
of
yeah,
course, always.
you can
Yeah.
like for example,
But it's doable. It's doable not to be.
I work on the construction, and you learn so much when you're on site.
Yeah.
Oh,
Even meetings are far different, especially when you're dealing with like business transactions or a potential business with a client. It's way more beneficial to be there with the person than it is to be.
yeah. So that was the reason we got our company approved with Immigration Canada. So we're gonna start bringing these employees who want, actually not everybody, but some people, they are comfortable work from home. So we not force anybody to do anything. But I think the first one we're gonna bring is the one in Philippines. She's really she's
Okay,
ready
so
to leave.
Right.
She's ready to come to Canada and try a different life
Right. So do you mean that you'll help her as a company with her visa first,
with the visa.
then her PR, and kind of help her with her journey to?
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's she's the first one that we hope to have her here by this summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she'll be living in Moncton.
In Moncton.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's
And then go ahead. Sorry.
she's fast. She knows the product. She knows where. But I still think when she's here, I want her to expand a couple of weeks on the job site with some of the builders that I know, so she can learn a lot more.
Did you foresee you having such success or growth 2 years ago when you first started? Not at all.
No.
Right? You just took that first step.
Yeah, I was
And
scared.
you were freelancing at first.
Yeah, freelance. I was scared.
So what gave you the confidence after you hired the first couple to just, so we need to hire 10 more? Was it just you knew you had the work at that time? You knew that the money, the cash flow, the revenue stream was coming in, and just
the attitudes, for sure, that helps. We never say no to anybody. We find a way to do the work, and of course, some are team members, their moms, their dads, they have kids, so they have a personal life. Everybody has personal life. So I never force anybody to do overtime on nights and weekends, but there are times I say, well, we just threw down the table and say, we have this project, we have to finish by Monday. Who is available? And then I always have at least 2 or 3. They jump up on the plate and say, no, I can do it. For example, these
and people are on different time zones here as well, right?
No,
So that can be a benefit.
and this girl from Philippines, one thing that surprised me at the beginning, we tried to make a schedule. I tried to make a schedule with her that at least can give us like a 2 hours cross work. So, for example, we are 11 hours difference.
Right. How's that work to tie in with your meetings, though? I mean, what time is it? It's 11 in the morning in one place, and
on the morning. So our meeting is usually on the morning.
okay.
Oh,
So it could be evening for some of the people tuning in.
Yeah. I like at 7 a.m. in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, at 9 p.m. at night. So I stay late, then I go down. For the first months, we did like that. And then one day, I was working, and then I look on the Teams, and her name was Green. I sent a quick message to her. What are you doing up? I'm working. But it's 11 a.m. here, so it's 11 p.m. There's like a 10 p.m. there. I know I'm working. I changed my hour. I say, how come? I say, no, I'm doing Canadian time. I say, are you sure?
She did that just to be.
Just herself.
Wow.
To help with the other new designers that was on her team, because
Right,
her
so
knowledge
she
is too
basically
good.
shifted her biological clock just for.
Yeah, she's working. Now she's only working this time.
Wow.
And then there was a couple projects, especially for the manufacturer. That what we did, I asked her to go back to Philippines time, because I needed 2 person to work on the same project at the same time. So instead, we work in 8 hours each day. We're working 24 hours on the same project. So my team over here was working during the day, like a few more hours, like 12 hours a day, do a few hours overtime. And then when they finish, she was starting her day there.
Yeah.
And then she jumped on the same project and continue.
Right.
So we did that for 3 days, 24 hours, the same project. We finished that project on the time that we need to deliver.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. I really like the coordination and the team. So for Carla, and I told her, I say, you don't have to call me. You can call anybody on our team, and anybody will respond to you, will help you with anything, language, dimensions, because dimension is different too. They don't use imperial anywhere. It's just here.
Wow.
So that team environment, it's good. The Philippines, I
It's
always
all metric.
all
You
metric
said before
for them is all metric.
in these other countries, right? There's no imperial conversion for
So in
different drawings.
Canada, any commercial work and the government work, like a public work, has to be done in millimeter. Building codes, it's in millimeter. So when we read the building code, we have to convert to But all residential, everything is imperial. It makes a challenge, and like all the other countries, it's only metric, and that's it.
Right.
There's no change.
So when I know it's difficult as a design firm to talk about future projects. A lot of times it's confidential until things come out. But you mentioned a few already. Is there any other projects that you're kind of really proud of, or any milestone like projects that you want to mention before we wrap things up?
Yeah. What can I say?
I mean, these multi-res would have been some.
So we, I can say that I have a good teacher through my past, like this 37 years experience that I have so far. In US, I met this architect, Peter Pittman. Today we do some contract work together, and he does such amazing work. We did a 98 apartment building in Massachusetts. That building was just like a spec for now. They didn't go through. Okay. This is something that I would like to be part of that project if it comes back to. It's like an investor. He buys property, do all the engineering part. Once the project is complete, he sells to a developer.
Right.
So he doesn't build
turnkey, right?
Turnkey, yeah.
Right.
Because to build to put a high rise, to build that, you need it's not a small business. It's not a small company. You have a power to do something like that. You have to have a big company behind, and so what he does, he
have the manpower.
The manpower. We had some projects over here that we have a new client came up this week. It's he's on the healthy department, so this is something that we're working on. It's
locally in New Brunswick or another one in the States.
Canada, entire Canada. So
in Ontario. Okay.
He wants us to take care of the entire Atlantic side for him. His portfolio, the company portfolio, should do about 10 buildings per year.
And will these
multi-units?
Multi-units, anywhere from 60 to...
Can be 48 units, 60 units.
Can be 100.
Yeah. He provides housing for the health.
They'd be wood frame buildings?
Most likely it will be wood frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wood frame today, you can go up to 6 stories.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But there are some of the developer, when you go to a building that size, especially with the price of the lumber, it makes more financially sense to go with the concrete than wood.
If you're gonna go up 6 stories,
your replacement cost, your insurance, you have a better rate. It takes a little longer to build, but there's a better return.
Yeah.
For the building if you do concrete. I'm not famous with concrete. I like wood, but they have some preference. If the price of the lumber was reasonable until it was before COVID, it came down a little bit, but it's
still up though from what it was for sure.
The prices are all over the place. We help. There are a couple of young builders in town. They're doing renovation. There sometimes we help them with some pricing, some methods for construction. Structurally too. Some of the most of the builders today, they say they can build a house about $280 to from $270 to $300 cost per square foot for to build
from multi-res
for single family.
Oh, okay, right. You're talking about residential.
Yeah, residential. And I heard some builders.
But you see anywhere from 250 to 600 or 700 here
Oh,
now
yeah.
in Nova Scotia,
Yeah.
depending on the how high end finishes they're using or
Yeah.
what. It's up there pretty high.
I had a new client came to their office yesterday to do addition on a cottage, and this builder told them they can build addition for $130 per square feet.
For $100,
130.
$130.
I say that's tight. I'm not saying he cannot do it, but there's so much he can do with the price of lumber, the price of material. Say, oh, he's a young builder. Say, well,
Okay, then.
I hope he can do it. But yeah, no, the cost is a lot more than that. And I can tell the builders that they sell for $280 or $300, they're not making tons of money.
No, and that's low right now.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
low. You're not many people getting it built for that much. It's probably 400 is more the norm.
Exactly.
Right now.
And I well, like one good friend of mine, he built probably like 3 or 4 houses, spec homes, and his cost was about that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how
If you want to make any margin, you got to be, 450.
Yeah, I don't know how someone can build for 130.
I don't know how they're doing that here unless they
Yeah.
must know something we
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. But we try to be neutral on that aspect,
Yeah.
and we always offer our service to the builder, to the owner.
Mhm.
And one policy that we have in our office say is our job does not finish when you pay the last invoice with us. Our job finish when you finish your house.
Right. So are any of these homes, once you design them, are you managing the contractor for the client? No.
No,
So you're
no.
designing only.
But we
That's
are
right.
there. We are
Yes.
there. I tell all my clients, our door is always open. So if you need help to select the builder,
Yeah.
you please come to us.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna tell you if the builder is asking the right questions.
Yeah.
Or
And most of these you're going to classify as high-end homes, right? Custom
Yes.
homes.
Yeah.
Right. That's
Yeah.
why you're involved in the first place. Not
Yeah.
everyone building a home is going to have a design.
Yeah,
involved.
exactly. And I say, if you have any question, please feel free, knock on our doors, and
Mhm.
if we can help, we will help.
Mhm.
And if we can answer a quick phone call,
Yeah.
we're not gonna charge you extra for.
Well, hopefully we can help. This will help you. I'm sure you're talking to lots of people in Nova Scotia already, whether it's commercial clients or developers for multi-res, or whether or not you have interest in designing homes here or not. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that will get you some exposure here
Yeah.
with the podcast release. And
No, we like to thank you for the invitation, and I think this is important to expose and try to explain what is involved on the construction, what is involved on the on the project, and a lot of people think it's simple. It's not simple, but it's not complicated. You just have to do the right thing and find the right people to do the work for you.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. And it sounds like 46 North is off to a great start, to say the very least. So congrats with your success so far. It's really excited to see where things will end up, and I'll definitely love to stay in touch. So thanks for doing this.
Appreciate. Thank you so much for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This episode is brought to you by Cook Insurance, your trusted insurance broker in Atlantic Canada for 50 years. Insurance is complex, and the Cook team focuses on delivering comprehensive solutions for your construction needs, including builder's risk, wrap-up liability, performance bonds, and project-specific construction. A Navicord partner since 2020, Cook is one of the largest construction brokers in Canada and offers national strength with a local touch. Whatever your insurance needs are, Cook has you covered.
The team at Atlantic Construction Podcast have been able to build a strong relationship with the folks over at FCA Surety. FCA Surety is heavily engaged in supporting the Atlantic construction marketplace and helping contractors to build their businesses, and we can't recommend them enough. While FCA has their head office in Ontario, many of the members of their team have lived in Atlantic Canada and worked in the construction community here. This gives them a unique national perspective with a local flavor. Andrew Cartwright leads FCA's national surety operations as Vice President of Surety. Their knowledge of the bonding marketplace and understanding of how insurance companies view your business is unparalleled. In addition, the depth of their team and reach across Canada gives them the ability ability to draw on numerous experiences to help clients navigate items like subtrade, construction disputes, liens, and supplier risk management. These are the things that separate FCA Surety from the pack. Make sure to give the guys a call over at FCA Surety for all of your bonding and surety needs.